the new Transporter. But did you know this? A brand new Transporter T7 Campervan with a feature everyone will appreciate. You can't disagree with that. You can, however, disagree with a few other things. Firstly, that is what it's actually called. This is in fact a new Transporter. It is not the T7. The VW Multivan is the T7. Look, you can see that here. Although, that said, let's face it, it may not officially be called the T7, but we're all going to continue to call it that. I have absolutely no doubt. Whenever a new model or new generation comes out, it usually takes a little while for people to warm to it. We've seen that in the previous generations before. Yet, this one, however, is different. Everybody has taken to it and loved it from the very first day. Yeah, all right, okay, maybe they haven't. It has caused controversy, arguments, and people have really been slating it. Yes, this is part of the Ford Volkswagen Alliance, built in Turkey, not Germany. But look at the sales figures for the Ford Transit over the years, especially recent years. Significant numbers, much bigger numbers than the Transporter. Whether die-hard VW fans like it or not, it's actually a fact. So when you take what is arguably the best van and VW make it better, then surely we're onto a new best van. Time is going to tell, but I do know that a few people are starting to kind of come around to it. It is growing on people, myself included. I know what the comments are going to be filled with, and we will address that in a future video. Prices have risen in recent years. The brand new campervan, which you could buy for 40 odd grand a few years ago, is now what the actual base vans cost. The empty panel vans, that's what they start at. But more of that in a moment. Is this the van you would choose for our project? And if you haven't seen my new project, which I announced the other week, that's you and me, are going to be building a campervan. You can watch that video later. I am really excited about that. Anyway, the look of the new Transporter has been talked about quite widely. And I have to admit, I did prefer the look of the Transporter's non-identical twin, the Ford Transit, until recently. The new Transporter has really grown on me, especially with some of the new styling options, some of which are currently in development, and they do make a big difference, as does the colour which you actually choose the van in. All of these things, though, are subjective, and we will all have a completely different opinion. You know, initially when we were first starting to see the vans, they were mainly white and silver. I wasn't particularly too excited. But now, having seen a few in other colours, I have warmed to it more. You know, I saw the green one in the flesh just last week, and in my opinion, it looks far better than it does in the photos. Even the photos which I took, I couldn't do it justice. It does look a lot better in the actual flesh. And now this black one, this campervan is far better than I was expecting. It's well and truly grown on me. I've seen the black vans, and this being a camper, I don't know how, but it just makes it look 10 times better. This VW Transporter Campervan is the first NCC approved campervan on the new base vehicle. It has been manufactured by Bespoke Leisure, one of the few Volkswagen qualified manufacturers. An M1 registered camper with motor caravan registration on the V5 logbook. This has been developed and passed all the relevant tests, meeting the strict criteria that is required to be compliant and safe. You can't just make holes in a vehicle chassis and expect it to be safe. That's why, for example, beds that have already been crash tested and passed need to be tested in chassis, that's in the vehicle itself, because even beds that have passed previously can still fail in chassis. And that's why these tests are so very, very important. A pull test on a bench is not the same as an in-vehicle test. And I know how technical all this can actually be, and there's many hoops that they've got to jump through at great cost. You know, this camper hasn't been rushed to the market. They have had to wait to make sure that they do it right. Doing it properly is not quick or an easy process. And now the vehicle has whole vehicle type approval. So what do we have here then with the new Transporter? Let's briefly touch on the models and the engines. The different specs available are going to be the Commerce, Commerce Plus and the Commerce Pro, and we will talk about that more in a lot more detail in a future video. And engine wise, there's going to be diesels with different power outputs. There's going to be a manual box and a DSG automatic gearbox. They will also be developing a petrol hybrid, and that's going to be released next year. This new Transit is also available in full electric, so it's going to be interesting to see how many people actually take that on as a base campervan. Colour-wise, there's going to be a whole range of options, and I do look forward to seeing these, as I say, how they look in camper mode, because they do look different than just based on a normal panel van, and it really does change those aesthetics. You know, I know Bespoke Leisure have ordered a selection, so soon they are going to be available in different models and those different colours, and they've even ordered that green. Might have to have a closer look at that. And I've said before that we are all different. We will all have different opinions. We have different tastes. You may not like a colour, but I may. But anyway, back to this campervan, and I will come on to some things that do set it apart. All what I'm talking about here is actually standard. There are other options available if you did want to add to the already high levels equipment. But anyway, let's start with the top. So first of all, we've got an Oztop's TUV tested pop top, and that has got the Frolly mattress. Used to be known as the deluxe mattress, but everybody wants a comfy bed, so it is now coming as standard. It's the sprung system, and it comes with the memory foam mattress. Now this is an easier pop top to close than some of the other ones, especially if you're on the shorter side. You know, not everybody can be 6'4" like I am. Yeah, anyway, and this was tested at the NEC a few years ago. An older couple went round testing them to see if they could close them. And this one actually came second, only second to an electric option. It is still easier just to press a button. But a comfy night's sleep is not just for those who are sleeping upstairs, it's also for those downstairs. And that's catered for in this campervan by the Ribalta bed, which has ISOFIX. So if you are carrying children in children's seat, then it's got the ISOFIX fixing points for you. Now, the front seats on this vehicle, a Bespoke Leisure conversion has historically featured the factory swivel seats. However, I'm sure you're aware that there is no VW factory campervan on this particular chassis. That's on the multivan, the T7 California. Therefore, an aftermarket solution was required, and this has been catered for by RIB with their front swivel bases. On the Ford Transit, there are factory swivels available, and I'll also discuss that again in a future video as to why, because Ford have got different treatment than Volkswagen have as far as the camper's concerned. And whilst talking about factory, also included, there's the factory reversing camera, there's air conditioning, tow bar prep, and that nice modern infotainment system and digital dash. And it's this modern technology is one of the big reasons why this, what used to be a big metal box with an engine, that was relatively cheap, is now much more expensive. The safety regulations in place mean that all vehicles must be fitted with advanced driver assistance systems, which includes things such as the lane assist, the emergency braking, and lots of other different warning systems. Now, like them or not, manufacturers have no choice. The base vehicle manufacturers has to put those in there. But back to the actual conversion itself, and it's got a Dometic 2-burner gas hob, and the tank for this is actually underneath the van, so you're keeping that space internally. And it also feeds the Propex gas heating system to make sure that you keep nice and toasty on those colder temperatures. It's actually a little bit chilly today, although it's not going to heat the outside. But have you seen where I am? This is absolutely beautiful, isn't it? And it might look like a background, but I can assure you, pick the grass, it's not. I'm genuinely here. It's a beautiful view. And since I've actually been here, it started raining when I was actually first got here. I had mist, and now it's clear, and you can kind of see the sun breaking through. And that's the benefits of kind of having a van, isn't it? I haven't slept here, but I think a few people not too far away have, and you can wake up and you can have these beautiful views and breathing that fresh air, and it might be windy, but it's still nice. As I was saying, it's got the LPG gas-powered Propex system, and that's actually controlled by a digital control panel, by the Savvy Van panel, which I'll come back to in a moment. Next to the gas hob, within the same unit, is the sink, which is the water fed from an internal water tank, which they've had designed themselves, and that fits over the rear wheel arch. The filler on the tailgate model will be where it's been situated on the Transit and also the outgoing T6.1 models. But on this one, because it's the barn door model, it's had to be where they've placed it here. And this water, though, isn't only cold. As standard, this campervan is fitted with a hot water system, meaning you can have hot water, obviously, and there's also a shower at the back of the van, so you can actually have a shower as well. But we might want that hot water, we might want that heating system to keep warm, but we might also want things to be kept cold, and that's where we've got the fridge. And in this one we've got the Dometic 50-litre fridge with removable icebox, and it's got an integrated into the kitchen units, so when you open the door, the fridge door opens as well. What a great idea that is. Yeah, I might have made that suggestion previously a few years ago, when you used to previously have to open the door and then the fridge door. Not a problem in itself, but I always said, wouldn't it be cool if you could just actually open the door like you do on integrated fridges and dishwashers and things like that in your home kitchen. Anyway, keeping all the electrical items powered is the lithium battery, and that's charged by Victron components. It also comes as standard with solar preparation. So if you did want to fit a solar panel, then you can actually do that quite straightforward. And this digital panel pulls it all together. Not only does it look really quite cool, but it's very functional as well, making operating the camper van very simple. You can turn on and off the lights, check your levels, check the heating, control the heating, monitor the battery, and more. The flooring on this is bowl-on flooring, and I personally really like it. There's plenty of options to choose from, and there's also different options which you can choose for your kitchen units and your workshop too. The kitchen units, that I will add, have got a lot of storage for your pots of pans, your food, your crockery, and whatever else you need to store. There are also 2 larger storage areas in the rear for larger items. One you can access through the timber door. You can store the chairs that come with the van in one of the cupboards. They just slide in quite nicely because of the fold-up chairs. The way this camper van is built, it allows for storage underneath the rib bed. One side is a drawer where you can keep things, whatever you want to keep in there, and the other is a cupboard that houses the toilet. Yes, a toilet is included, so this has a toilet and a shower. Yes, yeah, I know it isn't a wet room, but they are still there. There is a toilet and there is a shower. And again, because this is the rib bed, it is the storage behind the bed, making it much easier to travel safely by having your luggage behind the bed, not loose in the living room, you know, the bit in between the front seats and the rear seats. The storage solutions also extend to the sliding door, often just dead space, but here we have the new Locate table, which has the much easier removal system. It's got the turny, swivelly, knobby thing, whatever it is, and the table just pops out. It's a perfect table for using inside and also outside the van. Now, one of the great features of this being a VW qualified manufacturer is the matching of the camper warranty to the base vehicle warranty. So the new Transporter has the 5-year promise, 5-year warranty, 5-year servicing, and 5-year breakdown. So that also means the campervan conversion also has that 5-year warranty. Now that is a huge benefit, really giving peace of mind for people for 5 years. Again, a differentiator from other conversions that I mentioned only in last week's video. It's the conversion aspect that will vary widely in these campers from different converters. Like I say, with all conversions, you have to look at the spec, look what's included. Some campers have a lot of higher end components. So if you're comparing, say, 2 brand new vans at $59,995, which this one starts at for the Ford version, or $64,995 for the Volkswagen version, what is actually included? What's the bed system, the pop top? Is it a sprung bed? Has it got digital control systems? Has it got hot water? Has it got a shower? You know, you can add the body kits, the sidebars, the bigger alloy wheels afterwards. But if you're after a camper, then make sure that you get the camper aspect right first and foremost. There are some differences between this and the Ford, and we're going to cover that again in a future video. But one that stands out to me, other than the 5-year promise, is the fact that the VW has 2 front armrests. I know, it seems a bit of an odd thing to say, but the Ford only has a 1 armrest, and I kind of like to, as I'm driving, have my arms on the armrests. Now, you may think that you know everything about the new Transporter, but did you know this? The model range has been introduced to us in the UK as Commerce, Commerce Plus and Commerce Pro. But in Ireland, where this van is currently for sale at Happy Campers, the model range is different, and this van is actually a trend line. More interestingly though to me, is that there's also got the Panamericana, which means that we may actually see it over here. Maybe. Anyway, if you didn't see how two vans can be so different and why I nearly quit YouTube, then you can see that here. Or our big campervan project here, which you can be involved in. Thanks for watching, take care, and I hope to see you soon.